Hello there. Well, the news is out. The London Mayor Sadiq Khan is to receive a knighthood for services to politics and the public. Strange, isn't it, that these honours lists are meant to be secret until they are properly unveiled. But in this case, maybe someone thought it prudent to set the hairs running on it to gauge public opinion and see if they can get away with it. Oh, and another name to feature is that of Sue Gray. Remember her? The one who did for Boris Johnson, then slid off to become Downing Street Chief of Staff for Keir Starmer's Labour administration, and then forced out after just 3 months or so. Well, she's in line apparently for a peerage to go and backside polish the Westminster red benches. Then there's Emily Thornberry, or Lady Newgee, of White Van Man fame. She looks set to benefit too with a damehood. And there's a whole raft of political names that come after that, former mayors and MPs. And those that make it into the House of Lords then become lawmakers for life on 300 quid plus a day, never having to face an election ever again. And I gather that Rishi Sunak hasn't yet submitted his Prime Ministerial resignation list, so expect to see a whole new sheet of the Westminster elite added to that list. And the name Michael Gove crops up on that one. Now, if the honours system was based on a nationwide vote, i.e. it was democratic, I doubt any one of those would even get a look in. And according to a GB News poll, 99% of its online readers say Sadiq Khan should not get a knighthood. What a surprise. But honours are there for one set of the elite to bestow thanks on another set of the elite. And in a lot of cases it's a buy-off to stop nasty little secrets slipping out. But how can it be right to reward rampant knife crime and shoplifting in a city? Well, I would think it might have more to do with his economy-strangling ULEZ schemes and his co-chairmanship of the C40 Cities programme to turn the planet's largest cities into virtual no-movement prisons. Well, except for the globe-trotting elites, of course. And as I bring Richard in, I'll just ask you, the viewer, to ponder on whether the rewards are really for the woke and net zero zealots and nothing to do with public service. Oh, and good luck to the Tooting Four who are in Westminster Magistrates Court again today. I hope it goes well for them. Well, Richard, what do you think?
Well, Jeff, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I for one think that Sadiq Khan's elevation in societal status is a wonderful thing. He will now enter that exclusive club. Another person who was once affiliated with Sir Keir Starmer was also a member of. And of course, I refer to the wonderful philanthropist, Sir Jimmy Savile. Ah, yes, such virtuous persons get knighthoods in our honours system. Historically, the honours list has read like a certain type of offenders register, so if you get that letter in the post from His Majesty, it's not something one should exactly be proud of or broadcasting. Clearly, the monarch is quite at ease with the knighting of such persons as Sadiq Khan, who has destroyed the once great capital city of London. So that means His Majesty is a supporter of Sadiq Khan. Why else would he agree to elevate his status? Every time I hear that someone has a knighthood or become a dame, in my mind, it instantly puts a question mark over their integrity. And I mean that. Believe me, it's a club you don't want to be in. And if you do want to be in that club, it says a hell of a lot about you. A nepotistic club perched at the very top of society, filled with sycophants with a higher than acceptable ratio of perverted Savile types. The whole honour system must be disbanded, and all honours immediately stripped from all except those that selflessly pay a price in the direct, and I mean direct, service of this country and others, and demonstrably proves a desire to better this country. and do something good for this country, specifically this country, not the individual. Not something that Khan has done, quite the opposite. It looks like our king is about to knight a man who has actively worked against this country. Let's not forget as well his Uncle Tom speech to camera and some of the questionable people he has represented in the past. The creepy courtiers and those in the media that surround our monarch and our monarchy and act as publicists for their evil, woke, and quite frankly, satanic agendas need to be shown for what they are. Self-serving bottom feeders, hoping that one day they themselves will get their MBE, OBE, or whatever. Absolutely pathetic. Sadiq Khan, really? Over to you, Jeff.
Well, yeah, I think you summed it up there. Someone earlier, GW, said the people need to come up with an award we can give over social media. Now, that might be a way forward, but who would run it? Who would choose? Would it, who would put the shortlist out to be voted on? And then, yeah, the whole thing is always fraught with corruption at some stage because we're involved humans. And it's a really sorry state of affairs. Everything defaults that way every single time. Doesn't matter how altruistic you want to be. Look at all the charities that now have massively paid CEOs. Yeah.
Yes.
So everything defaults to nepotism and corruption all the time. All the money that gets put in a jar or into one of those buckets or whatever for a good cause, most of it gets siphoned off, to buildings and people in this country.
Well, yeah, I'm very, very dubious of anyone who's got a large charity these days. I'm sorry to say. Small local charities, that's a different matter. But some of these large, huge, local, community-based charities is an entirely different thing. Some of these larger charities, a late friend of ours, Mark Wadsworth, used to run a section on his blog, Fake Charity of the Day. Yeah. And he used to go into these things, and you see, again, a lot of these people are affiliated, though, with the crown. You have the monarch being, or members of the royal family being heads of various charities that are very questionable. Prince Andrew was head of quite a few charities, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he got made a Knight of the Garter, along with Tony Blair. And it makes you think, doesn't it? The whole system, granted, that's an honour system, honours bestowed by the monarch and chosen by the monarch specifically with the garters. But again, it makes you go, okay, so why did Her Majesty? I know a lot of people say, don't say anything about Her Majesty. I don't like this king, but Her Majesty was wonderful. Well, she chose Tony Blair to be a garter. And she, very strange. I don't trust any of them.
No, it's a very difficult situation to be in, really, with this, because all we're doing is we're just the whole point of the honour system is to keep the system. Is part of holding the system aloft and keeping certain people above the rest.
Yes.
And the question I've got is: does the honour system actually reward the right people? I mean, that's a silly question, really, isn't it? When you look at, if you go through the newspapers today, they've got hold of this list somehow, or the proposed list that's going to Keir Starmer for approval, and then it goes to the King for approval. Yeah, I don't know how much power each of them has got to change anything or whatever, but these are the names that are going forward. So are these the sorts of people that the nation wants to see rewarded on the international stage? Because that's what happens. They go around, I'm Sir Thingy or whatever it is, and they get given these things and that's so the world is looking at them and saying, well, that's what Britain rewards. Yes. Is this what we actually want? Well, I do wonder sometimes, because the other question is, does the honours system honour the right behaviour? Does it reward the right behaviour that you want to see?
No.
Selflessness.
Exactly. There are
bravery.
You're going to get your token MBEs and OBEs given to some people who genuinely do some wonderful work. Otherwise, it would be blatantly obvious what this thing was. Because now you can't. If you throw the argument at them saying, "Oh well, it's just full of perverts and very nasty people. Okay, well then they say, well, what about this little old lady who got her MBE? See, you're wrong. You're just a conspiracy theorist. Those people, unfortunately, should be knighted, but they get something. They get a smaller reward. The real big rewards usually go to those that, you wouldn't want babysitting your kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, the sorts of people that are getting those in order to keep some of them to keep their mouths shut and to give them something that helps them on in future life. So has the honours system actually passed its sell-by date in the modern era? When we can see all this stuff going back 50 years, people would have just accepted this stuff. It would have come out in the papers and people would have just accepted it. Oh, they must have done something, And nowadays, people are beginning to ask serious questions.
Yeah.
I think it's past its sell-by date, personally. I really do. But, there you go.
Yeah, it most certainly is. As you said, maybe there should be some sort of more of a direct democracy approach to everything in the society, from elevation in status to, what's wrong with elevating somebody in status who's done some really good work? There are people who give their lives selflessly towards charity, towards the helping of others, volunteers. The little old lady in the WRVS, they do something for their community, and then they know they're not going to get any reward.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't they? They're the sort of people we should be putting forward. But then again, I suppose, let's just play devil's advocate on this. All of a sudden, you start getting people wanting to do selfless acts to get elevated as well. It's a funny thing. The human condition's a very strange thing. There needs to be a different sort of moral compass put in place, a moral compass that we used to have. We need to regain our Christian heritage. We need to go back to it. We need to get our moral values and get ourselves right with a higher authority, we should say.
Yeah.
There we go.
One of the things is, for me, another question is, have those who have awarded these things brought the system into disrepute themselves by doing so, by not choosing really worthy people? Some of the people that are named here, okay, they've been a bit prominent in the news as politicians, but does that mean they've done something wonderful somewhere? Doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like they get paid a lot of money to do a job, and they did their job. They did their job.
Yeah. And they got paid for it, which was their reward. Why are you giving them another reward?
Yeah. It's the people who do over and above, really over and above. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen it too many times of people who just seem to get rewarded for their own self-endeavors, their own self-promotion. I find it sickening.
Yeah.
Utterly sickening. There's a few people now, one certain sports person right now he can't wait to get his knighthood. You can just see it. It's like, oh my God. He's been miserable in the past because he hasn't received it.
Oh, right, okay.
He's still fighting for it now. He's in the papers. It was recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the papers yesterday, actually. But yeah, right.
I think it's Melee said, I'm completely disgusted by this. The honour system is ruined. No one will give it any credibility to the people now. Yeah. It's things like this that do bring these sorts of systems into disrepute. I can't see how much longer this can last.
Yeah.
When we've actually got people question, let's put it this way: if it was a good honour system and it worked by rewarding the unsung people who go far and beyond, if it rewarded them, no one would question the honours system, would they?
No,
but they
absolutely.
do. They totally question it. All these names that are coming up, and I mentioned the main three for me. When these names come up, people are questioning them. What's all this about? That's not, and that shows how much disrepute this has been brought into.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a good question here, a good point, question made by Tony Adamson. Who wants to be honoured by a corrupt state, though? And absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
is it something to be honoured? Is it something to be proud of? Oh, look, I've got my honours. Look what the king gave me. And they're thinking, okay, yeah, big wow. All that proves is that you have excelled within a corrupt state, and that your morals should be now questioned. There we go.
Yes. John Johnson says Baldric received a knighthood for his contributions to turnips, so anyone can get one in that case. Yes, I do remember that episode of Blackadder. It was Baldric. Yeah. Yes.
I missed Blackadder. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't. Well, sorry, that would not pass today's tests of wokeness, would they? That would just not be allowed. Yeah.
No, that would be banned instantly.
Yeah. And as Griff MJ says, we just sit here and let it happen. Yes, we do. And but the trouble is that a lot of people still do give this system credence, which does surprise me still. If you sit back and look at it, you go, well, okay, these people are high paid anyway. They're now going to get an extra honor for doing a bit of overtime, maybe a bit of unpaid overtime in their main job. But yeah.
That's it. I mean, yeah, I have to say, my own late biological mother's father, my grandfather, I'll just say he was in the Second World War and did a lot there, and he was always waiting to have a little MBEOB for what he did. He never got one, and it's rather sad, really, that a man can wait his entire life just hoping that one day you can get that knock on the door and bang, you're elevated, and then, a few years later you're dust.
Yeah.
He used to say to me, Jeff, you go to a graveyard, especially in a crematorium, you tell me which one is the rich man, which one is the poor man. They're all in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. even if you go around a really, really old graveyard and look at the big, grand, gravestones, some of them weren't particularly rich, but they somehow got a grand headstone, but you wouldn't know who they were, how much they were worth, and what they got, any award they've got for, if they got them. And that's the thing to remember. It doesn't last long. It really doesn't last long in the grand scheme of things. The elites in this world will be the janitors and street sweepers in the kingdom of God, says last but not least.
Yes. Yes. The first will be last and the last will be first. Absolutely. Do you know, I'm glad that I'm not a rich man some days. I'm glad that I'm barely making ends meet, because I think one day, I don't want my rewards here. I don't want my rewards here. I want them up there. Yeah. And that's the way we should be thinking as Christians. Sorry, some of you are not Christians watching this and be like, I don't hear this Christian rubbish.
Well, it is the lead up to Christmas.
Yeah, well, exactly. Don't get any Christmas present then. And don't celebrate it at all. Go and celebrate the pagan version of it. Don't.
Carol Jordina says, they are not listening to the people. They do what they like. Sicken me. Well, yeah. And it's almost like they just enjoy rubbing our faces in their sort of self-aggrandizement and success. It's
yeah.
Yes.
So I think we sort of covered most of that one today, mate. I think we
have. I think we've upset everyone. We've upset everybody. Yeah, that's it. That's our job. Upset you with this news.
Well, at the end of the day, look, it is what it is. There's lots of people upset. The polls are showing that people are not happy with his appointment. Yeah. It's not an appointment with his elevation in society, Sadiq Khan's, that is. And so, well, there we have it. Welcome to Britain. If there's only one person left to blame, it's the head of the system, which is the king himself. If he's willing to do it, fine. That's what he thinks. He thinks this man has done a good job for London. Clearly, he wouldn't be doing. He'd say, "No, I completely object. I completely object." But no, he's willing to go along with it. We do need a king, but it's not him. Sorry, Charles, you're not doing it. You're not cutting the mustard. There's only one king. I mean, I'd love Tommy Robinson to be king. But that's not going to happen. But there's only one king, and that's Jesus. He is the only king. So please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click the all button.
Yes. And on that note, it's good morning from me.
Oh, and it's good morning from him. Good morning. Goodbye.
Good morning.
Whatever.